Hello students, today I'm going to be showing you how to do your atmospheric perspective trees. So if you're doing this in class with me, you're going to be using watercolor, and you can use watercolor at home if you have it, but if you don't have watercolors and you're at home, you're going to be using color pencil. So I'm going to show you both ways. Remember, when we're doing atmospheric perspective, it's usually just one color that is darker and then gradually gets lighter as you get closer to the top. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to draw a tree. So you're going to need a piece of paper, and like I said, if you were doing this at home and you don't have watercolor, you can just use regular paper, but if you're using watercolor, you want to use thicker paper, preferably watercolor paper, which is what I have here. So I'm going to show you how to draw a tree, and this is a tree without leaves. So you're going to start by drawing two lines coming from the bottom, and as you get up here, they're going to spread out a little bit. And basically you're going to make a bunch of V-like shapes. And then you're going to continue up, and the lines are getting closer together. Another V-like shape. And they're going to get really close together as you make the ends of the branches. So it might look something like this when you get done. Okay, so there's our tree. Now, if you're doing this with colored pencils, you're going to start with one color, and that's the only color you're going to use. I'm using blue. And at the bottom, you're going to press down really hard to make it really dark as you can get it. And as you go further up, you're going to get lighter. So you can notice that I'm getting a little bit lighter as I'm going up. And then once I get to about the tree branches, it's going to be really light. And it might even be so light that it's hard for y'all to see. And it's going to be really, really light up here at the top. You have to look really close at it. And it's probably hard to see on the video, but you can see how I'm going from dark to light. It looks like I need to make it a little bit darker right there. So you want it to smoothly transition. So you might have to go back and see, oh, I need to make that darker here. I need to make it transition from that to that a little bit smoother. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. So you would do that in the whole background. So notice how I don't have the whole background finished, but it's not really necessary for you to see me finish the whole thing as long as you know that you're doing this on the whole background with just one color, whatever color you picked. And then when you get done with that, you're going to fill in your tree with one color. So that can be brown or black. Okay, so you're going to do brown or black in there. Now, if you're doing this with watercolor, or if you want to know how to do it with watercolor, you're going to do the same thing, except with watercolor, you're going to have to pay attention to the amount of water on your brush. So for example, to get darker colors with watercolor, you want to make sure your brush is just wet enough to get the paint to work. Okay, so see how it's not going around a lot, it's not spreading out a bunch? That's because I don't have very much water on my paintbrush. Whereas if I rinse off my paintbrush and get it full of water and have barely any of the blue on it, see, it spreads a little bit more. Okay, so what you're going to do here is the same thing. You're going to have to transition between really, really dark and then get lighter as you're going up. You'll just be using a different technique because you're using watercolor instead of the color pencil. So notice how I'm reaching my hand out of the frame and dipping it in water, and I'm not even adding more blue paint to my brush because I know there's already some a little bit on there. And I'm doing that so that I can get a lighter shade of blue up here. And I'm doing a pretty good job at going from dark to light, I think, so far. And it's probably a little harder to see the lighter shades of blue that I'm getting as I'm going up on the video compared to the color pencil. And you can go in and add darker shades down here. You just have to be careful that you don't have too much water on your brush, otherwise it'll just wash it out. So same concept, dark to light, except you're using watercolor, and you're going to fill the whole background with that. So again, I don't think it's necessary for you to see me do the whole thing, but you're going to go transition from dark at the bottom to as light as you can get at the top with watercolor on the whole background with whatever color you picked. And then, same thing as with color pencil, except you're using watercolor, you're going to fill in the tree with either black or brown. So I would fill in this whole tree. I'm going to use black. And I would just use my paintbrush to fill it in with black. So when you get done, it's going to look a little bit like this example here if you're doing it with watercolor. And if you're doing it with color pencil, it'll look similar. It'll just look like it's done with color pencil instead of watercolor. When you get done with that, please make sure you take a picture and upload it to Buzz.